Eddy and Dan of the Deathless Dogs were both born and raised in La Crosse. Together since 2011, the Deathless Dogs are unique for the local music scene, with influences ranging from Queens of the Stone Age, Andrew WK, and Clutch. We chat about influences, whiskey, and listen to a new song titled Broken Years off their forthcoming album, which explores a rough patch for Eddy in response to his time in the Iraq War. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is La Crosse Local.
My name's Eddy Krogman. I was born and raised in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I've always kind of found music to be fascinating. I didn't really start trying to play until a college class at UW Milwaukee. It was like intro to popular music or something, but they had a side class in the class called History of Blues. So I learned all about Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters, just a myriad of blues artists, and that kind of launched me into learning how to play guitar and writing songs and kind of shaping what I was trying to do.
My name's Dan Speer. I'm also born, raised in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I was always interested in music as a kid, and then in high school, I talked my parents into lending me the money to buy a drum set. The condition on that was I had to still go for the football team that I had just signed up for, but I never went. I still play drums, and I don't know anybody from high school who still plays football, so I think it was an okay choice.
You know, you've been playing since 2011. Was that the origin of the Deathless Dogs, or did it take some time to get to your kind of, when I've seen you, you've always just been a two-piece. So has it always just been two of you?
Yeah, for the most part, it's always been the two of us. The band started back then in 2010, 2011, when Eddy was still living in Milwaukee. He started writing songs like he was talking about, and he knew I played in bands, so he'd send me some stuff. I had a little electronic drum set, and I'd put some drums on it and send it back and forth. And then I went out to Milwaukee one weekend and learned a bunch of songs, and we recorded our first album. It was kind of dormant for a little bit with the distance between us, with him being in Milwaukee and me being here. But then he moved back home. Yeah, I don't know how many years ago now, but
I think it was 2012, 2013.
Yeah, and then we just picked right up and started writing more and getting to play in the room together, and I think that really defined the sound we have now.
Yeah, I mean, just originally just seeing you live and also kind of going in your back catalog, it's something where it's when seeing you live, I just imagined in some ways horns and various other things that you kind of add to your albums. Is that something you just kind of want to play around with? Because, I mean, do you ever have some other people jump up and use those horns?
Rarely do we play with other people, but there are times when I know we've played with a couple of the people in the worst, just impromptu, show up and play type thing. Otherwise, we will call my buddy Teddy to the stage to do his heavy metal rocking. He's on the DD Shuffle and all that. Yeah. He just has a metal voice. So he does he's going to now have, I think, 2 or 3 songs he can do with us. But as far as the horns is concerned, this new album features a horn section. That's me playing. In high school, at Central High School, I played saxophone. And it's kind of like riding a bike. So I just was able to acquire a saxophone again, and we slapped that on the album.
Under artists you like on Facebook, and this could be something that you created your Facebook and haven't updated since, but you have Queens of the Stone Age, Andrew WK, and Clutch. Just listening to this past couple of days, I even hear some rockabilly and kind of Motorhead-ish and Ozzy going on in some of the earlier stuff. I mean, you definitely have a unique vocal sound. How did that come about? Is that just based on that's how you sing, or?
I've always been kind of shy with the singing vocals. I went to a Catholic grade school, so we'd go to church every Friday, and you'd have to sing the songs and that, and I'd always just kind of be quiet because I feel uncomfortable with my voice. That's what you're hearing is what I have. That's what I got right there.
Another thing, I mean, not comparing it to it, but it's, I always hear a rock opera kind of component to it in the sense of a, kind of country fried Midwest sort of lyrics.
We felt, especially with the album Raggedy Business, our second one, that's kind of a narrative in a way, like a story. If you listen to it, it kind of projects this weird story of somebody. So I understand what you're saying about that idea of a rock opera. I mean, it kind of even carries into the next album too, I would say.
Yeah, and I was raised on like Queen, The Who, music like that. So I mean, I think that's just kind of that storytelling element, bigger production on the albums than what we can do live with just the two of us is just kind of a natural thing for us. It just feels right to do it, I guess.
Yeah, we want to kind of flush out the songs, kind of give you more of what we hear that we can't replicate between the two of us on stage. So when we get in the studio here and we think about our music, we do some pretty wild stuff, you know, like I got this Jaguar call from Mexico, and we put that on a track, you know, just we use bottles for percussion and, you know, just make instruments out of stuff that you wouldn't anticipate or expect. We also try to do different mic placements to bring out different sounds. It's all kind of an experiment. It's kind of our music lab.
You kind of sent along, I believe, some new tracks, and you talked about some collaboration with people singing on Broken Years.
I'm coming back with no regrets, and I'm feeling whole again.
What is that song about?
Broken Years. I had to think about this one. Dan sent me a list of the questions, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, I'm not really much of a preparer, but I kind of saw that one, and I was like, this can be a whole thing, isn't it? Okay. So I guess a lot of people who know me understand, like, I'm a combat veteran, and in 2006, I survived a bombing. It was a direct bombing on my Humvee that I was driving, and I walked away from it and thought that I was unscathed. You know, I was a young man, probably 20 years old, but like 2006 passed and I kind of, you know, put everything behind me and I kept trying to move on with my life. Like I started getting trouble seeing. I started having a hard time focusing and concentrating, started getting mood swings. I was falling out of touch with who I was, and it took me from 2006 to about 2009, 2010 to get help because I didn't understand what was going on with me. And it turns out being in a bombing kind of gave me a traumatic brain injury, and I didn't really know about it. As a veteran, you know, coming home, it's stressful enough, but like when you're trying to find yourself again and pick up all the pieces of who you were, you don't understand why things are going the way they are, you know, it's a tough time. And I guess Broken Years is a reflection of those years where I didn't know what was going on with me. I was kind of neglecting getting the help that I needed, and I had all the opportunity to get it. That's the thing. I mean, the VA has been great to me since. I had to go through, I think it was 6 or 7 months of vision therapy, which is kind of like physical therapy for my eyes to help me with the focusing. I had to, you know, obviously seek counseling to make sure everything was good. And especially in these troubled times, you know, where I think I've read reports where suicides have been on the increase and everything like that, it's important to kind of find your outlets to escape those confines that you find yourself in, especially if you've been in traumatic situations like a lot of veterans are. You know, there's help out there with the Veteran Crisis Line and everything. But Broken Years is essentially overcoming and moving on from some of the most trying times I think I've ever experienced in my life. I think I came out on the backside of it now as a 34-year-old. I think I've come out a much better and more accepting and well-rounded person after, you know, seeking the help and finding my creative outlets in writing and writing music and being able to play guitar. And honestly, it's a miracle to kind of be where I am now as opposed to where I was as a 20 to 25-year-old, if that makes sense.
You can definitely hear it. Listening to the songs over the past couple of days there's a lot there. It's almost in some ways, and I've learned to love lacrosse a little bit more, but I'm also like, when I listen to a band like yours, I'm like, why is this band even in lacrosse? Because usually...
Well, this is our home. It always has been. I've known Dan since middle school. You know, we go back to, I think, 7th grade or something. And You know, a lot of our friends are still here. When I got home from Iraq, I kind of took a break from the Guard and the Army life, all that. And I toured the country, went to 40 states. I've written a book about it. It's like 800 pages. Writing kind of became my outlet in those broken years. You know, helped me in a way climb out as well. I can't imagine in all my travels and all the places I've been or seen living anywhere else. I mean, this is always, no matter where I've been, no matter what I do, La Crosse is and will forever be my home.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's just something that's the local music scene. It's unique in the terms of that I'm happy to live here now, but, you know, it's something to see where it's actually creative and it's not a cover band. It's something that just has a lot of merit behind it. Something on a lighter note, I've really enjoyed your whiskey reviews on your Facebook page. Is that a new endeavor you guys are doing, or what up?
We're actually drinking Old Granddad. Shout out Granddad's Bluff.
Is that a new track for you guys to just do whiskey reviews, or?
Thinking about doing that for a while as a means of promoting shows coming up. Just because it's something else we can put out there that you're not just hitting people with your music constantly. You know, you can show a different side of yourself. And anybody who knows us knows we're just big whiskey drinkers. So I just thought, why don't we just start reviewing them and then every week put out a video and tell people where we're going to be this weekend, you know, coming up, come see us wherever. But then it just happened to coincide with everything completely shutting down on us. But at the same time, it still gives us something to put out. And it's been good for us. We've actually, the response has been pretty good, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And it's something we'll continue to do.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
It's really reassuring when people comment, you know, like, we look forward to this. Or, you know, like people tell us like, wow, you guys, like, this is really cool. And, you know, it just kind of keeps us relevant, having weekly content where we can splice our music in, but it isn't so in your face.
Right.
We're loud. We're for a certain crowd, but I think a lot of people these days can get behind whiskey. At least, you know, jokes and whatnot. You know, people learn our sense of humor, and I think that's a good thing.
So what's next for the Deathless Dogs?
Well, coming up next, we'll be releasing that EP at a date to be named at this point. Kind of trying to figure out our best strategy on that. It's right back to writing and working on the next one, and hopefully getting let out of our houses at some point so we can come play in front of people again. That would be nice.
We also have a couple covers in the mix, which for us is a rare treat. We decided we were going to break from the mold a little bit because we've always been original, but I feel like that'll expose more people to what we're capable of sound-wise. And also, the whiskey reviews, we want to start bringing in guests to talk about their lives, talk about, you know, various music artists around town or around the region that want to come in and talk about their new releases, and kind of a cohesive blend of a good musical community that likes to drink whiskey and have a good time.
Sounds like paradise. So where can people find out more about the Deathless Dogs?
I'd say the best place would probably be to go to Facebook. If you search the Deathless Dogs on Facebook, that's where we're probably the most active, where you'll see what we're doing.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.